Welcome, everyone, to Tuesday, May 12th. You've made it. We are at a work session. We are going to do roll call. I see everyone here. I see a large Peter Agave in the center of the screen, like from the Wizard of Oz. Hello, Peter Agave. And I assume Joan Cathy will be joining us in a little bit virtually as well. So we are all here, assuming Joan joins in a few minutes. We have a very special recognition. Would make Terry just go stand
In the middle.
in the middle?
Do you have a current?
First sash. We wanted to recognize Terry. Do you want to come join us at front? We want to recognize Terry Kirkpatrick's 20 years of service to Tumwater with the Planning Commission. Did staff want to start with thank you so much. Oh, Councilmember Cathy, perfect timing. We just started our recognition of Terry Kirkpatrick's 20 years of service to Tumwater. Terry, do you feel comfortable standing up there so I can give you a certificate and a gift card?
On the other side of the
That is
table?
correct. You go this way, I'll go this way.
As long as I get out of line.
Well, Hannah. Oh. And a gift card. Oh, yeah. Sure, you have to get it around. I have a bias towards Terry. I adore this man. I knew him before I even was on the planning commission because I went to high school with his daughter and then roomed next to her at the University of Puget Sound. So I've known him and his wife, and when my father was going through a lot of health issues, she ran that grief group. And so I attended that for many years to help me process. So Terry and I love the discussions on planning commission because of his thoughtful questions. And I think we argued about the sign ordinance for a couple of years.
Have we ever been?
No. But that's what I love, right? Is when you get commissioners to ask that question, that lived experience, and you don't take it personally, the whole goal is to better our community, right? That rural-urban lifestyle. What do we really want? It's not just about today. It's about 20, 30, 40 years down the road. And that's what Terry has contributed to, right? That thoughtful discussion of, oh, I can see that now, but what does that look like tomorrow? What does that look like for when we're not here?
Mm-hmm.
And Terry has always led the way like that. It still gives me goosebumps because his legacy is all over Tumwater, literally all over Tumwater, with all the decisions we made with planning because of this guy leading the way. I would love the space for you all to make Terry stand here and just say some nice things about him. I know Megan Sullivan served with Terry.
I would love to say a few words. I learned so much serving on planning commission with you, and very much appreciated your very thorough and thoughtful questions. I think that you being an arc connecting from 20 years to today and still being there is, unparalleled. I don't think many jurisdictions get that gift, and so I think you've probably mentored, whether you know it or not, many members of the planning commission over many years. And contributed to really robust thinking about who we are as a city and what we're trying to create and why we're trying to do the things that we do. So the critical thinking that you bring to that role, and that just by being yourself, you contribute to other people asking good questions. So I learned so much, and I'm grateful, and the city is really a beneficiary of your dedicated service.
Terry, I got to serve with you on planning commission as well, and I remember a couple of times, like, I wanted to ask a question, but you beat me to it, but then I was like, know what I'm doing because I was gonna ask. So thank you. You definitely have been a mentor to me, and, you know, just the short time that we were on the planning commission together, I really did learn a lot from you, and you are very thoughtful and always forward thinking. And so thank you for your dedication to this.
I
think I'm the one council member that didn't serve on the planning commission before I got appointed, but, sorry, I'm older than you. Okay. But I would always prepare myself. I would look at the planning commission minutes and the notes and everything. When we were having to hit some heavy stuff that would come through general government or come before us, I would always read the minutes to prepare myself for council, because I wanted to see what you all thought about, you know, especially like you, to find out what your questions were, and because they would, and now it's a little harder because we don't get to see them written anymore, but seriously seek your thought process and everything, so it would help me prepare for the meetings. And I really, really appreciated your questions and your thoughts.
You have some fellow planning commissioners here. Would you all like to share a few words? And then can we take a group photo with all of you and Terry? So, yeah, so come on up and stand next to Terry and give him compliments. Be proud.
Yes, and we should. Yeah, we should, Terry.
Yes, yes.
Brad.
Love having pictures.
I love it.
Who's doing the photos?
Candy, I'm here. Can I make plans?
There you go. My mentor.
Oh, Kathy.
Yeah.
Joan, I hope you heard that. Terry pointed to the screen, to your photo on the screen, your video, and said, "There's one of my mentors."
No,
Thank you, Terry.
we've been around about the same length of time. I meant on the, I didn't mean in this world. I meant, I meant in service to someone.
We didn't, everyone sat down. Did anyone else want to share some words about Terry? This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to celebrate 20 years. Oh,
That's not first.
Angela, then I'll.
Just Terry, thank you for your dedication to our community. And this is an unpaid position. So coming for 20 years and just giving us your voice and your experience to shaping someone, that is commendable.
Thank you so much.
That's commendable. Commendable.
Terry, your attention to detail has always thoroughly helped me in my work whenever I actually get to come to Planning Commission. Every time I can be absolutely sure that you read everything, found every typo, every potential contradiction, everything that I didn't think of, because my brain isn't your brain and your brain benefits us all to have at the table. So thank you for your service.
I would take you back further than 20 years, and Ralph Osgood brought me into this room. And we passed, everybody knows that this is one of my little bits, but when we passed through the room out here, there was a model of the future swimming pool for the city of Tumwater. Sitting right in the lobby, that was Ralph Fahey. And we now have the hands-on children museum, we have the rack, we have no swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as I'm here, as long as I'm part of this group, you'll always have to put up with me as a proponent of swimming pool.
Got it.
Love it. Our children, my daughter spent more time on a bus going to and from swimming practice than she got to practice. And that's still the case with Evergreen. That's not the solution. The solution is pool that we control.
No.
No one paid you to say that?
No, that was amazing.
I would just like, as everybody knows, I've been here about 4 months now. Just for your to have dedication to spend 20 years giving back to our community is incredible. So thank you for all your service, all your sacrifices you've made, your time, moving our community in the right direction. And you shouldn't hear with these amazing people, brilliant people, for them to say all these kind of words about you. That really speaks truly about the type of person you are and how much you care about our community. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Chairman Kathy, Peter, Gabby, anything you would like to add? You are on mute. And I think I can actually read your lips.
I don't think so, other than I've always admired Terry. You know, it's just I used to wonder what on earth sometimes the Planning Commission was thinking. Really, that's what they and then he would he would have something clarifying to say, or how you got there, or something. And yeah, I value him highly. And so, did I catch it? Is he leaving?
No.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that was a good answer. Wow, that was all in unison. No. I'm glad you're not, Terry. I'll have a chance to give you a hug.
Thank you.
He'll leave when we get a pool in Tumwater. Peter, any last words before we move on to the next item?
Sure. So I don't know if I've met Terry or know who Terry is, but what I would say is 20 years serving on planning commission is a very long time. I didn't serve on the planning commission. I came straight to council, but I know the planning commission, all the stuff that you have to do, haven't done the same thing for the state for 16 years. That's a lot of work. So for that, I say thank you for your service.
Well said, Peter. Thank you so much.
So I only worked with Terry for 10 years now. And I echo everything that's been said. I want to emphasize the amount of terror staff, because actually residents are questions to ask. Any force for you to think on your feet. So I think that is probably one of the things I value most. Anybody is that level of detail, level of interest.
I'm hearing you want harder questions.
I'm saying.
I just want to acknowledge that, Terry,
Yeah, can you come up closer to the microphone?
I want to acknowledge that Terry, has been here now for 2 comprehensive plan updates. And they are, absolutely foundational in terms of setting the tone for our community. And to have seen not only 1, but now 2, and bring that knowledge forward, as, Councilmember Sullivan mentioned, bringing that knowledge forward is. So, and then the volume of work, I think, we had packets of over 100 pages.
Yes.
2 weeks back to back. So the volume, the sheer volume of work that this man has done in 20 years is commendable. And to note that he's
Yes. Thanks, Terry. Thank you.
Sound it out. If you do, can you come up closer so that Joan and Peter and anyone online can? Last chance.
I just want to say that, I'm now one of the oldsters too, although I haven't been around all that long. I have learned so much from Terry. And, again, everybody has mentioned the commitment. It's there. It's really true. And if you ever move Terry, I know what we're going to do. In any case, I just so value your input and your thought process. Remarkable, very much.
sign a list, thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to Jeff Johnson, who has traveled far to join us here in the hamlet of Tumwater to give us an update from the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency, or as Joan calls it, ORCA.
All right. Well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council members. I really appreciate the invitation to be with you tonight to talk a little bit about ORCA. Always happy to talk about ORCA. My name is, as Mayor mentioned, my name is Jeff Johnston. I'm the Executive Director at ORCA. Also with me this evening is Dan Nelson, ORCA's Communications Manager, and Odell Hadley, the agency's Senior Monitoring Specialist and Tumwater resident.
Yay!
So my plan this evening is to give a brief overview of ORCA, and so if you could bring up the slides, please.
And Jeff, would you like council to hold their questions, or would you like this more discussion style?
Great question. I'm happy to please interrupt as we go along, and we'll see how, again, if I'm drawing short on time, please let me know and I can try to speed things up. I've got probably about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes worth of slides or something, and so then we can, but let's have a discussion as we go along. Works for me. So in addition to the slides, I also have, there's 3 handouts in particular that I think were distributed earlier that, I mean, I've got copies here we can pass out, or if you have. Great. So Dan can help get those distributed. Thank you, Dan.
They were also emailed out to council
Yeah.
members as well.
So, yeah. So while Dan is getting those out, I'll just say that at ORCA, we are not public health experts, but we consider ourselves a public health agency because our mission is based on the state and the federal Clean Air Acts, which are grounded in health protection and public health. And a couple minutes to get those around.
Good to go. Dan.
Anybody else wants help? Yep. There's 3. Way to go, Paul. All right. One more. 2 more.
3 pages.
All right.
We're going to see how complicated we can make this.
All right, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Got it.
All right. Thanks, Dan. All right. Well, another thing I just wanted to mention is that ORCA is, so our lane is what we call ambient air or outdoor air. We don't have authority to regulate indoor air, and so we do work with local health jurisdictions, state health, regarding indoor health issues, but primarily we're talking about outdoor or ambient air. Going on to the next slide. A little bit about ORCA. So we have a 6-county jurisdiction. So including Thurston County, there are 5 other counties in Western Washington. You can see those up on the screen. Essentially the entire Olympic Peninsula and on the West Coast all the way down to the Columbia River. There are a little less than 600,000 people in our 6 counties that cover an area of just over 8,000 square miles. So pretty big area. We have almost 700 businesses that are registered with ORCA because of their emissions or potential emissions of air pollution. So I'll drill down into Tumwater's registered sources here in a few slides. We are an agency of 18 people operating out of an office in West Olympia. So actually I didn't drive that far. But we're a small agency for a very large, very large area. Neah Bay is 4.5, 5 hours. So when Odell drives all the way up to our monitoring site up above Neah Bay, that's what, 4.5 to 5 hours each way? So big jurisdiction. And so partnerships are critical. Partnerships with local health jurisdictions, with fire agencies, with tribes, city and county permitting authorities, others. So So drilling down a little bit more into Orca, we're a local government agency responsible for enforcing local, state, and federal clean air regulations. We are one of 7 local clean air agencies in Washington. The State Clean Air Act gives counties the authority to come together to form clean air agencies, either as a single county or as combinations of counties. So in counties that haven't activated their authority and formed agencies like Orca, the Department of Ecology has direct authority to implement state and federal Clean Air Act. So all counties in Western Washington are covered by one of the local air agencies, and in Eastern Washington, 3 counties, Benton, Yakima, and Spokane, are part of local air agencies. The other counties are a part of the Department of Ecology. So local clean air agencies have essentially 4 basic functions. We permit, or it's permitting and emission control for what we call stationary sources of air pollution. Again, these are businesses that emit air pollution. Importantly, it does not include mobile sources or planes, trains, and automobiles. So we do not regulate those sources. Those are regulated to some extent at the state level, but primarily at the federal level. As I mentioned earlier, we enforce local, state, and federal regulations, air pollution regulations. We monitor air quality, and we educate the public about air quality issues. All right, so now I just wanted to talk a little bit about Orca's governance. So as I mentioned, the State Clean Air Act, which is RCW 70A15 for those that want to follow along, provides the counties the authority to come together, as I mentioned. So the work and our authorities are spelled out pretty prescriptively in parts of that chapter, including the composition of our boards. And so for agencies like Orca with 6 counties, spells out that our board consists of a county commissioner from each of our 6 counties and a city council member from our 3 largest cities. And the 3 largest cities are Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater. So Thurston County is pretty highly represented on our board. I will say, Council Member Kathy, you are the longest serving member on the Orca board. She joined our board in, I believe it was September of 2016. So 2015, Tumwater became larger than Port Angeles, and so took the board seat from Port Angeles. So I believe that Council Member Kathy is the only Tumwater council member that has served on the Orca board. So let's see. The last thing I wanted to do before shifting gears and talking a little bit more about the actual work we do is to just mention our budget and our finances. And so we, like the state, operate on a July 1st through June 30th fiscal year. So actually at our board meeting tomorrow, staff will be briefing the board on our draft fiscal year 2027 budget that starts on July 1st. We went out for public comment at the end of last week. And so we'll have a hearing at our June meeting and the board will adopt a budget. Just the second page of the agency snapshot just has, for our fiscal year 2026, you can just see the mix of revenue and expenses that we have. Just wanted to let you know that. Again, we're mostly fee funded, but assessments are an important part. That's assessed through counties and cities. And so each, as a resident of our 6 counties, residents pay about $1 a year to Orca and the services.
So when you mean residents, you mean homeowners or apartment dwellers?
It's all residents. So it's all residents. We use the OFM population numbers.
Okay.
So it's billed on those OFM numbers. Any other questions before I move on?
Yes. Are you a nonprofit?
We're a special purpose district. So we're a government agency. So special purpose district is the type of government that we are. So we're not a county, we're not a city. Special purpose district, like a port or a irrigation district or something along those lines.
Okay, understood. And your PhD, are you a scientist?
My PhD is in chemistry. So
okay.
Yep.
I thought so. All right, thank you.
Sure. Okay, well, then moving along, let's see. Okay, so as I mentioned, monitoring air quality is one of the functions of a local clean air agency. And as I mentioned, Odell Hadley is Orca's senior air monitoring specialist. So if I get in trouble answering any of your questions, Odell is my lifeline here tonight. So the main pollutant of concern in Western Washington, actually all of Washington, is what we call PM 2.5, or smoke, particulate pollution. It's called PM 2.5. It's very small. So the diameter of each particle is 2.5 microns or smaller. And so just to give you, so the diameter of a human hair is between 50 and 70 microns. So again, these are very small particles and the reason why they have significant health impacts is because they can travel into our bloodstream and cause all kinds of health issues. So that's the pollutant that we're most concerned about. And what you see on the map here is, so in those little kind of roundish, I'm not sure how to describe that shape, but those are our regulatory monitors. We have those in each county. And then the squares are what are called our sensors that we've gotten from Department of Ecology, SenseWAS. And those are easier to operate, less expensive. We're working to get those rolled out in each of our counties. We've got one in Yelm and Thurston County. We've got one in Ilwaco down in Pacific County, in Forks and Clallam County. And we're hoping to get one in Grays Harbor and in Mason counties soon. But there's lots of information available about air quality monitoring available on the web, on Orca's website. The Department of Ecology has information available on their online. They also have an app. EPA has a website and an app. What I like about the EPA site is that they show not just the regulatory monitors, but they show all of the crowdsourced sensors that are out there, so which are thousands and thousands of sources. So if you were to bring up the fire.airnow.gov, you would see a much denser assortment of monitors.
Yes, Peter has a question.
So the 6 counties that you showed earlier on does not include Pierce, King, and Snohomish, but this air monitoring quality map shows Pierce, King, and Snohomish. What is the difference?
I'm sorry,
In the regional where you have your counties,
right.
that didn't mention Pierce, King.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
This map, it identifies the counties.
Yes. So Orca so our counties are the counties that I showed on the previous map here. So Pierce County, Kitsap County, King, Snohomish are part of the Puget Sound Clean Air Agency. So they operate monitors in those counties. North of that, in Whatcom, Skagit Island, and San Juan, it's the Northwest Clean Air Agency. So they're, again, the state is broken out into these different agencies. But on all of these maps, actually Orca's map, I think, just shows Orca's monitors, but Ecology and EPA have all of the regulatory. And as I mentioned, EPA in particular has not just the regulatory monitors, but the sensors as well.
Thank you for that clarifying question, Peter.
That makes a lot of sense. I was just wondering if you guys share the same modality in measuring air quality, but it seems like that's what you're saying, right?
Same modality as Pierce, King, Snohomish, is that the question?
Yes, when you so for example, when you use your system to monitor the air quality, I'm assuming that your system will also account for air quality within those 3 counties, which are not part of your initial discussion, right? Is that making sense?
I mean,
are you asking if they're sharing data between the jurisdictions?
Yes. Yeah, basically, yes.
yes, yeah, we work very closely with other local air agencies, with the state, with EPA. So Odell and other monitoring folks are regularly in conversation. Our Thurston County monitoring site is at the Mountain View Elementary School in Lacey, which is actually closer to Ecology than it is to Orca. And So they use that site as a test bed. There's lots of work that we do with ecology. Some of our grants come from Department of Ecology to operate some of the monitors. So yes, there's lots of close coordination with the state and the feds.
Thank you.
Yes.
The Department of Ecology collects the data from the entire state. So all of our monitors feed into the Department of Ecology, and they regularly check all of us to make sure we are consistently monitoring the same way. So all of our monitors are operated exactly the same as Puget Sound Clean Air, as Spokane Clean Air, anywhere in the state. The state is checking and making sure that the data are of high quality and the same standard operating procedures. And all of that data is collected by them and validated and then submitted to EPA's air quality system, so it kind of is just a multi-level that goes up, but it's all done the same way.
Gratitude.
Great question, Peter, because there's no borders on our air.
Nope, there are not. There are not. Yep, the boundaries that we have are very artificial. Okay, so then moving along, now talking a little bit about working with stormwater businesses. So as I mentioned, another one of the functions of clean air agencies is regulating sources of air pollution. So the State Clean Air Act says that we need to register and periodically inspect these sources. So there are 65 of these sources in Tumwater that range things like gas stations, auto body shops, coffee roasters, backup generators at warehouses and other things. And if you're wondering where these are located in Tumwater, here's a map. Shows kind of where they are located in the city. And in addition to our registration program, we also issue what are called notice of construction permits for businesses adding or modifying pieces of equipment that emit air pollution. So another one of the handouts is this one, focus on when an air permit is required. So that is, because it can be complicated, but essentially there are lots of sources. As I mentioned, in our counties, we have almost 700 of them, that range from just a small auto body shop with a paint booth or a small coffee roaster up to very large pulp and paper mills, big sawmills, other things that are registered with us and require permits. One important point about notice of construction permits that we issue to businesses is that they are pre-construction permits. They're intended to be issued before a facility constructs. There's a variety of reasons for that, but unfortunately, too often we find out about something that was installed and then we need to permit it after the fact, and that can be more expensive and more complicated. So we try to reach out to, again, work with cities and counties to make sure that your permitting teams, your staff are alerting the businesses that come to you to want to establish a business here, so that they're saying, do you know that you need an ORCA permit? And just, again, making sure that we have those communications as much as possible. And I just wanted to mention that Alyssa contacted me earlier this year, letting me know that you all were working on some code related to data centers. And so I was just wondering what ORCA might have in our regulations related to data centers. So put Alyssa in touch with our lead engineer, had some communication. And so that is exactly what we like to have happen. So thank you, Alyssa, for reaching out to ORCA. Okay, now on to smoke. So in addition to regulating, working with businesses, we do a lot of other things to manage smoke. And by smoke, I mean smoke from indoor burning, from outdoor burning, and then of course we've got wildfire events as well. So wood smoke is a large source of PM 2.5 to our communities. In the wintertime, it can be the largest source. Of course, when people are using their fireplaces, their wood stoves, and the temperature is cold, trapping the air down next to the ground, that's when we get some of the highest concentrations. And so we have, so ORCA has worked, we've operated a wood stove replacement and recycling program in Thurston County since 2011. And this is, we're able to do this because of money that the legislature provides, and grants from Department of Ecology. Between 2011 and 2024, Orca removed 840 wood stoves and inserts, responsible for more than 65 tons per year of PM emissions. So,
What did they replace them with?
well, there's a couple different programs. There's one is a recycle program, which basically we give residents $500 for their old wood stove if they qualify. So then they can take that and maybe they'll buy another wood stove, maybe they'll do something else with it. But we have then a replacement program that gives a higher level of incentive. I think it's, and Dan here manages that program, so if I need help, I'll get him to weigh in. But I think it's $750 for a pellet stove, $1,000 for a gas furnace, or I'm sorry?
$750 for the gas.
Okay.
It's incentivizing gas, and $1,000 per pellet.
Okay, and then $2,250, I think, for an electric heat pump.
So I guess the question is, well, we're trending in new development not having natural gas. So then you can get a rebate or get money to replace the wood with natural gas.
It's a lower level than, so we dropped that from $1,000 to $750 for an incentive for natural gas or propane. Giving higher incentives for people to use the zero emission, high efficiency heat pumps primarily is at $2,200. And then pellet stoves, which are very low emission, $1,000.
I just think, so growing up in Tumwater, when there were power outages, we used that as our heat source, but also as our food source to heat our food. So knowing that we're, there was talk about potential brownout coming, everything going on the grid, why shouldn't I keep my wood fireplace when that has always been my backup for 5 decades in Tumwater?
So they can use the $500, the recycle award. So basically $500, as Jeff said, to take an old uncertified wood stove and take it to a metal scrapper. They can use that for a new wood stove, and doing an old uncertified wood stove to a modern high efficiency wood stove is a significant drop in smoke emissions, in particulate matter emissions. So that's something we're allowing, but again, the grant we have is literally titled Wood Smoke Reduction. So the goal is to reduce the wood smoke emissions as much as possible within our community.
So we also do, in addition to giving folks new devices, we do a lot of education about how to burn cleanly, because even a new wood stove, you can put out a lot of smoke with it if you're burning wet wood, if you're damping it down. So that's something else that we do a lot of.
Yes, a question.
I'm just wondering, and it could be not wood smoke, but say you have a neighbor who has used their property for a dumping ground, say, and maybe they've been notified by the city that they need to clean up. So then you notice, oh, there's all this burning. You don't know what they're burning. You're concerned because you don't want your neighborhood to catch on fire, but also the substances that might be going up in smoke. What should neighbors do if they notice this happening? Should they contact you?
Yes, well, we do have, we manage a lot of outdoor burning complaints. So we're right on our website, which the last slide is file a complaint. So yes, and we do manage a lot of outdoor burn. And in fact, that's a nice kind of segue
Look at that, Kelly.
to outdoor burning. Yes. So I wasn't going to say a whole lot about outdoor burning because other than recreational fires, which are essentially campfires, outdoor burning, residential burning or land clearing burning is not allowed in city limits or urban growth areas. But we do manage a lot, and we get a lot of complaints, outdoor burning complaints, and we try to work. We do issue notices of violation. We do it, so when you file a complaint, it can be anonymous or it can be non-anonymous. If it's a formal complaint, that's easier to build a case to work a notice of violation with. But that is something that our inspectors spend a lot of time on, is managing outdoor burn complaints.
And Jim, a follow-up to that, when you get those complaints, is it part of your process to connect with the jurisdiction that complaint is in?
Yes, yes, thank you for bringing that up. We work closely with counties and cities because, as you mentioned, Councilmember Ron Holtz, I mean, it's often a solid waste issue. And so that's often what is being burned. And so, yes, we do work closely with cities and counties on those issues because, yeah, and I think our inspection team is part of a monthly call with Thurston County. And so, yes.
Remember, when I first came on council, Orca came and spoke to us, and so I didn't know that we couldn't have a little fire pit. I had a little fire pit, and I think I used it once, and so I didn't know that we couldn't have them. And so I guess the thing that
Now we can, right? Now we can.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
But we can't burn wood in them.
We
Yes.
changed that in 23, I
But we
believe.
can't burn wood in them, because I had a little one
We
that
changed the regulations to allow that in the cities now.
Yes.
have wood.
Yes, to have wood. So that was,
Every time they come, you learn something new. You're welcome. You're welcome.
so yes, you can have a recreational fire in Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater now. For about 15
Okay,
years
you
or
guys,
so.
you're killing me here.
Yeah.
You're killing me. All right, then I will not go there. Okay. Well, and then the whole outdoor burning thing, my next door neighbor burned all his yard waste. And so I remember having to finally, because I kept hoping maybe the fire department would show up because he was like gassing us out of the neighborhood. And so but I had to go over and say something to him. Like I slapped him in the face. But anyway, so it's just hard when you have people, because that's, in the old days, they had their burn.
Right.
I remember having the burn barrel and you went out and burned your paper and your mom and that kind of thing. That's how you got rid of your garbage.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Not anymore.
So now I can have a fire pit?
Now you can have a fire pit. You can have a recreational fire.
I have a serious question.
Yeah. No, I did because I thought we couldn't, it was a long time ago I had it with my other house.
Oh, you gotta bring it back.
Well, and then that was
You
the whole
can bring it
thing.
back. You don't need to, but you can.
The thing was, my whole thing was at that time then, they were still selling them in stores. But then
Yes.
it would imply then, it's like when you see fireworks at Fred Meyer, that we don't allow fireworks in Tumwater, but yet when you sell them at the stores, that would
Yes.
imply that you're allowed to use them there. And so if you sell fireplaces in our stores, that you could use them, but now apparently you can with the fireplaces, but no on fireworks. So, is that right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
but now I
We'll put
can
it on
buy
that.
myself a
I got it.
Yep, there were a variety of reasons why we changed our regulations
Okay.
to allow them,
Well,
but,
they were
but,
doing
but
it
one
all
of them
during
is
COVID
because
anyway.
it was unclear and because people
Yeah.
could buy them at Home Depot or Lowe's.
So that's why it went to a.
Well, when it's.
Well, that was just one of the many reasons why it made sense to change our regulations, to make Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater consistent with the rest of our jurisdiction.
That's pretty, okay.
Great update for all of us. Thank you.
Okay, the last thing, actually, sorry, I was jumping to asbestos before mentioning wildfires. The third category, so we've talked about smoke from indoor fires or home heating, outdoor burning, such as recreational fires, but then also there's wildfires, which of course, so often the smoke comes from outside of our jurisdiction and we have no control over, although last summer, you probably remember the Bear Gulch fire burning above Lake Cushman, which was in our jurisdiction, which was essentially a local fire. And certainly Shelton, Olympia got impacted some, but Hood Canal was very bad air quality for a couple months, I think. So there's not a lot we can do with wildfire smoke other than just educating the public. Again, making sure that folks know where they can get air quality information when we use what's called the Air Quality Index, AQI, which is green, yellow, orange, red, the various colors, and what activities you should be doing or how to minimize your activities based on air quality. And Councilmember Kathy, you have a question.
No, well, I have a statement to make, which is, I guess, nobody listens closely to my reports because I reported when we made that change, and you remember, Jeff, our fire chief worked with us on that. He's on the call now. On the meeting, and we talked about allowing that. Now, I'm going to give Eileen some grace that she may have been off seeing her grandchildren or something, but I do remember it. We didn't have much, there was not much discussion, but we did do it. And it hasn't been that long, has it?
No, it was about 2 or 3 years ago, about 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Time flies. I can't remember exactly when it was, but about that long ago. And certainly, yeah, thank you for mentioning Chief Hurley. He's certainly been an important partner. Work with him and the other fire chiefs as part of the Thurston Fire Chiefs, Chief Brooks and Chief Van Camp, Chief Johnson, and others have been really important partners.
Yeah. And you know, Eileen, I'm just kidding you. I'm just using it as an opportunity to say now and then in this somewhat.
I'll pay attention next time.
Yeah.
I'll pay attention better.
In this somewhat complicated things that we do, sometimes it's hard to, sort out the things that would be best for council to know. But anyway,
Thank you for circling back on that, Joan Kathy.
we're circling back, and it made me a little dizzy. But I'm excited to come to Eileen's house now and sit by her little fire. I want to. Yeah.
Everybody can go to my patio now. I'm going to go out and buy something.
Not all of council.
Okay.
Have a forum.
All right, so the last thing I'll mention about wildfire smoke is, given how warm and dry this past winter has been, we are nervous about the summer that we're headed into in terms of wildfire smoke. So just be careful out there. All right, now on to asbestos and demolition. This is the last aspect of ORCA's work I just wanted to mention, and the last of the handouts is a homeowner's guide to ORCA demolition and asbestos program. So asbestos is a federally regulated air pollutant, and there is no minimum safe levels of exposure. And unfortunately, there are still products available that have asbestos in them. So, we are often in conversation with folks who say, "Oh, my house was built 10 years ago, so there's no asbestos in it, right?" Well, unfortunately, that's not the case. There is, it's more modern homes are less likely to be filled or to have a lot of asbestos, but unfortunately, we can't say any home built after a certain year doesn't need an asbestos survey or need to have the asbestos investigated if you're doing some sort of renovation or demolition work. So I'll just leave it at that in terms of asbestos, and then unless there are any questions, and then go. I'm perhaps running long, but I've talked about a lot of different things. Again, we're a very busy little agency doing a lot of different things. Got a lot of information on our website, and so encourage you to explore there, including, you can see there in the center under I would like to file a complaint, where you can go, again, you can file it anonymously or you can leave a name.
Do you send like a summary of those like quarterly to the jurisdictions? Because I've never seen what that looks like.
We do. So actually at each of our board meetings, part of the compliance manager update includes a list of complaints that have come in.
You send it to the exec?
It's sent to our board members, so certainly could send it more broadly if that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to put it all on Joan.
Yes.
And can we have a link to our city website? If there's a link where they can go,
Yeah.
Or just do an update.
That is a great idea. Update, link,
Link,
yes,
Yes.
and summary. So it's not all on Joan to give it to us.
right, thanks.
Oh, great idea. That's all was writing down.
And so, yeah, so I'll follow up with Paul to see exactly what, but yeah, because the compliance report actually is a lot of different things. It's not just complaints, but it's a lot of different things. And so, but we can make sure to get you the information that you
We would love that, because we have staff are working on an update to code enforcement in Tumwater, what that looks like, planning for June, July to present. So that would be an integral part of what you're seeing in Tumwater and what that looks like for council regarding updated policy.
Okay, absolutely. Then let's see, I think so then it was just, the last thing I was going to mention on the website is, so ORCA owns That's all right. We own our own building. We'll just say we own our own building, and so we have some vacancies. So if you know anybody that needs anything from a small office, 120 square feet up to 1,200 square feet, we've got a few vacancies available. So let us know. Reach out. So absolutely.
Information, so more to come. Yeah, thank you so much.
That was good.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, always.
There was so much learned for you guys covered, seriously. I always thought it was just local.
Yep, pretty big.
Huge. Had many conversations about EVs and how hard they would be for your agency.
We're moving in that direction.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur.
That's good. So we're gonna move on to you, Home Energy Score Program Update, and I heard that you have a record amount of slides that you're gonna do in a record amount of time.
I do speak fast. I only have 23 slides that I plan on showing you. And I'm going to speak fast. I really like information, and I apologize. I want to make sure that you all have... Just starting again. Want everyone to be able to make informed decisions and have all of the information that I have. So here we are again, Home Energy Score. Just reiterating the goals of the Home Energy Score Ordinance, or the Home Energy Disclosure Ordinance. I'm going to call it Home Energy Score Ordinance because that's what it contains.
Hold on a second. I mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't know if they wanted to stay to the hundred.
yeah, I think.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No pressure.
Eileen would like you all to leave.
You're welcome to leave. Like, right.
Because I think they're interested. So I was looking at the slide, so I wasn't gonna call them out.
My colleagues, but I'm interested.
There you
I'd like to hear from each one of you that you would like to say. Because it is rare that someone stays for another agenda item.
Not judging if you want to run out.
He gets away with it. Thank you so much for engaging. Melissa.
The goals of the Home Energy Score Ordinance are to increase transparency about home energy performance at the point of listing, to reduce energy cost burden, to increase the efficiency of the existing housing stock in Tumwater, and to support our climate goals by driving measurable reductions in residential energy use and emissions. So I came to you all last February 24th. I spoke to you for maybe too long, and I will try to not do that again tonight. I presented the concept of the Home Energy Score. You all at the end of it said that you would like to continue the discussion. Thus, I am here today. I also was asked at that work session to address some remaining community concerns, so I will do that in like 2 slides. Since the work session, Thurston County passed the Home Energy Score Ordinance in March. Olympia also passed the Home Energy Score Ordinance in April. Staff reached out to insurance, mortgage insurance, home insurance assessors, and appraisers on the topic of home energy score, because those are some of the questions that the Thurston County Realtors Association asked that we didn't have good answers for at the time. Community members have started to proactively work towards attaining their home energy score assessor certifications, and people have sent us their certificates of their prerequisites and asked, where can I get mentorship? People are excited. Thurston County and Olympia have started the process of Northwest MLS, and the city administrator and myself met with a small work group of the Thurston County Realtors Association. So in terms of the small concerns, or the concerns that we hadn't had good answers for yet. Mortgage insurance, the concern was that it could impact insurability. I wasn't sure if it was mortgage insurance or homeowners insurance, so I reached out to everybody. I'll only read the bolded parts so that I'm quick. No negative impacts anticipated, and home energy score wouldn't be factored into rates, quotes, or policies, nor would it have an impact on insurability, so not a concern. In terms of assessors and appraisers, yes?
You're okay. Breathe a little bit, because we do have people online, and so how time travels, so the delay, and also Kelly has a question.
Sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry. I do have a question though. So you reached out to the mortgage insurance and the homeowners insurance, but did you talk to the office of the insurance commissioner?
I did not.
Okay.
Good catch. By many brains make better work. Insurance. Do that. Thank you.
So, another question. So there was some not positive feedback. So how do you feel about the responses that you got from the realtors?
This is supportive of the home energy score, of the mortgage insurance or the realtors in general?
Realtors in general.
We're continuing to have conversations and try to work out any, I don't want to say kinks or issues, things to come to an agreement on.
So is that Lacey and Olympia, since they both passed it?
Thurston County.
Olympia and Thurston County, my apologies. So is that conversation ongoing with all three?
They attended the work session that Paul and I went to, and some of them participated.
Good, thank you.
Questions, I think, directed towards Olympia and the county because they've adopted it as to what it then looks like to implement it. So the questions directed to us were slightly different to them based on the discussion and where we are at in the process versus where they're at in the process.
Okay.
And tapping into Angela's question, Alyssa, we're getting a handful of emails coming in regarding this subject, right, today. One was from Tom Crawford with some things to consider. Were you able to see that email?
Paul
Crawford. Tom.
Paul forwarded me some emails today. I didn't see any that weren't in support, that had issues to resolve.
Okay.
Can't speak for Tom, but I know he's very much in support.
No, now I'm just making up names. Keep going. I'll follow up.
In terms of assessors and appraisers, Thurston County staff met with the assessor's office and they discussed current and anticipated impacts. People are reaching out to the assessor's office with questions about home energy score, because assessment is a word that's used. Their anticipated long-term impact of people coming to the Board of Equalization to argue HES scores affect property value, and that's something that they've had recent experience with habitat conservation plans, which we're also working on. Staff do not know at the assessor's office whether home energy score is going to affect market values, and they won't be able to know until it's in place for something. In terms of appraisers, Olympia staff had a call with Vicki Carr, a local appraiser from Prestige Appraisals. Impacts to value would not be measurable. Most appraisers don't assign any contribution of value for having solar panels or being a green home. They said, we don't check because it doesn't impact market value. And not all homes are receive an appraisal, and even fewer receive an interior walkthrough that would be able to confirm any of the things that are in home energy score reports. There's also a new uniform appraisal form that appraisers are now required to use as of earlier this year, where they do evaluate energy efficiency and green certifications as part of the appraisal process. So in terms of the Realtors Association work session, and I want to note that there are at least 5 of us in the room who were present. So if anyone wants to verify with other minds and voices, by all means, the voices are here. We listened to concerns raised by the Thurston County Realtors Association. The main items of consideration were real estate listing language, compliance and oversight, jurisdictional budgetary constraints, and consumer market impact. They also created a alternative proposal for a mandatory home energy score that would require that, similar to how a buyer now, again, not a real estate professional, so I'm hoping I'm doing this right. I've only bought a house once. Similar to how when you're buying a home, you can get an inspection or you can waive your inspection. It would be something like that, where you're provided information, and then you can either go for the home energy score audit or sign a form that's included with your closing documents that says, I was informed about this, but I didn't want to do it, as their option. I asked if they could investigate anticipated results in terms of participation in greenhouse gas emission reduction, for me to consider that as a viable alternative, since we do have some data and studies on participation and greenhouse gas emission reduction for what we're proposing tonight. Also, staff requested from Real Estate Association alternative definition to consider for real estate listing. There were some sticky parts about that language, and I look forward to seeing their proposed language to see if it's something that we can consider or incorporate. In terms of going through all the bullets, they provided some very useful insight, really useful insight on how to integrate with the multiple listing service and enforcement, and some useful industry-specific numbers and questions that they posed on long-term staff capacity and funding, which are valid.
A little bit. What I heard from the realtors in the room that day was concern that oversight over listed properties would be inconsistent with oversight over for sale by owners just because of availability. So there was a sense that perhaps listed properties might be overly monitored in comparison.
Unequally enforced.
So they just wanted there's equal enforcement, and that it's not just focused on something that's listed through MLS, but anything.
Not just doing what's easy, but doing a thorough job to make sure we're being equitable in any amount of enforcement. And I have at least 3 slides on this topic, which I'll go through quickly. We learned from the Realtors Association some updated numbers. About 90% of homes are listed through Northwest MLS. In terms of Northwest MLS, when an ordinance passes that has a requirement associated with time of listing or time of sale, we, as jurisdictions, report it to MRSC per this RCW. They then, once it's on the website for MRSC, then Northwest MLS or other MLSs will create forms and or revisions to Northwest MLS based on the requirements of the ordinance. And staff, we learned this at the Realtors work session, we would really need member access to Northwest MLS to effectively enforce listings that are there. Northwest MLS won't share information, I'll get to that in a little bit, about what kind of access will be given, what kind of forms they'll do until there is an ordinance that's passed. They don't want to waste time thinking hypothetically, they want to use their time effectively. So what enforcement would look like for Northwest MLS, which again is not 100% of the homes listed for sale. There are many options, which would be determined by Northwest MLS's level of willingness to share data and access. It could be that Northwest MLS provides reports on a monthly or weekly basis of all listings in Tumwater, and staff identify from that report non-compliant listings. It could be that they provide access to Northwest MLS for real-time ability to identify non-compliant listings for staff. The TCMC, we could use our contract or a future contract with a third party, Home Energy Score National Service Provider, to carry out the first steps of enforcement, where they could scrub Northwest MLS for us and identify the non-compliant listings and issue a standard warning letter or notice of violation if we so chose to. To be equitable and fair, enforcement must also happen for homes listed outside of Northwest MLS. And I asked the question, is there a place where this is most commonly done, so we make sure that we're approaching all listings. And one realtor suggested Zillow, Redfin, and Trulia as the areas where those kinds of sales are most commonly listed. We could hire a professional to develop a computer programming code to review Tumwater listings on those websites, to monitor and alert for non-compliance. The jurisdiction I worked at before, we did this for vacation rentals. We just created a code. It found all the ones that were not registered with the city, and we were able to issue non-compliant letters from that without having to spend a whole lot of staff time.
So I have a question.
Yes.
For the cost, right, how would that affect the cost? Because I heard this is a money grab, right? So how would this affect the cost?
The cost to the city or the cost to others?
No, the cost to the homeowner who's selling. I think I heard.
It would be equal enforcement so it would be having equal expectations of the community to comply with the ordinance.
So it wouldn't, right, it wouldn't increase the cost to the consumer.
Not necessarily. The enforcement is the way that my brain is thinking of it. We write it so that it would be followed. If people don't follow it and it decreases their cost, that's not a reduction of cost, that's an increase of non-compliance. We would be expecting compliance.
The way I'm thinking is they're going to have to pay a fee, right? Because we were talking about people getting training, so it's going to cost a certain amount. Is this going to increase that cost?
No, this shouldn't. The cost for the professional providing the professional service that they're trained and authorized to do will be determined by fair market value and competition, just like any other thing under capitalism. But generally, the costs are between $150 and $350, and they're kept competitive through enough people doing that work. If someone decides to price gouge, people are going to not go for the person that's price gouging if they have enough options.
Okay, so that was my concern. Is this going to increase the cost?
No.
All right, thank you.
This will hopefully increase compliance,
all right,
but not the individual home seller's costs.
Got
In any case of enforcement, our goal is compliance. It's not to shame people. It's not to get people in trouble. We want people to come to compliance because we want compliance with the ordinance. Staff will provide education. If there is a non-compliant listing, we will go provide education. If the household qualifies and they couldn't go through the process because they couldn't afford it, we'll connect them with the subsidy and have appropriate timelines to make sure that that can work. In cases of non-compliance where the seller and or the designated agent is knowingly and repetitively not following the ordinance, then my feeling is that fines would be issued or fines would be reasonable if we've given them multiple warnings and they keep not following the rules. And since the ordinance is a time of listing requirement, non-compliance will not stop a sale. So I have 3 slides here where I went back to your last work session and looked at all of your questions. I can read through these very quickly if you want, or I can hold them on the screen, whatever is your preference.
Council, what would you like?
Read through.
Okay. Someone last time asked if someone would want to upgrade a home they're buying to have a heat pump, would they be able to roll that into the Energy Spark loan? Yes, so long as it would increase the efficiency of the home according to the Home Energy Score report. Does the home have to have a high Home Energy Score rating to qualify for the Energy Spark loan? No, you simply have to have the report. If this becomes a requirement, how do we make sure those costs don't rise? Is there a way for us to control that because auditors can charge whatever they want? The city could regulate a price cap for private sector work. In all other examples, competition has driven prices to remain stable. The 150 to 350 prices, are they nationwide? Most things are more expensive in the Pacific Northwest. In Oregon, the cost of Home Energy Score assessments rarely exceed $300. The price of the assessment is based on the home size, travel for the assessor, scheduling urgency, and the local market, like you would assume for any other service. Would Pac Mountain be the lead for Home Energy Score training? No, you have to be a Home Energy Score assessor to provide the mentoring aspect of the workforce development. However, we could partner with Pac Mountain to help recruit interested folks to get trained. Does this training already exist? Yes, it's a national curriculum. How much does it cost to become a certified HES assessor? The DOE HES training and exam are free. Some prerequisite credentials cost money, others do not. And the Thirst and Climate Mitigation Collaborative jurisdictions intend to cover the cost of mentorship for at least 8 assessors. After those 8, there could be costs to someone seeking accreditation to get mentorship. But 8 is the amount that we expect that we need to meet the demands for mandatory ordinances, assuming all 4 jurisdictions adopt. How long can the Home Energy Score be used for? 20 years. Olympia and Thurston County's ordinances allow for up to 10 years. When we first wrote the model ordinance, it was 8. Olympia Master Builders asked us to please extend that, and we did to 10. No apartments, no detached ADUs. The U.S. Department of Energy model currently cannot be used for stacked multifamily manufactured homes. Attached ADUs would be part of one assessment, but if you wanted to get another one for a detached, you could pay for another assessment, but the main property that's being sold is the one that would be requiring that. Are the scores for each unit or the building as a whole for things like duplexes? Each unit would get its own score if they have separate meters, electric meters, utility meters, and HVACs.
What's that? Megan has a question.
Question about the detached ADU. So for compliance during the sale, if an ordinance was in place, the HES would have to be purchased for the main residence, and there would not be a requirement for any HES for a detached ADU.
No, because the score cannot be applied to a detached ADU.
Okay.
If I make improvements, do I need to pay another $350 for another score? Only if you're trying to sell your house. This is a great question from Councilmember Agabi. The whole purpose of Home Energy Score is to get a uniform energy score that new or older homes can use. In the past 12 months, PSC has increased rates. It makes you wonder if you have any appliances that could save you money, the bills will go up anyway, even if you make those changes in the home. At the end of the day, if you tell someone to do something, but the rates increase, that's not necessarily true. Electricity rates, natural gas rates, they are rising. They can definitely increase within the 10-year period in which a Home Energy Score is valid in terms of the Thurston County and the Olympia examples. We could reduce the number of years a Home Energy Score is good for to help counteract that, so that if someone gets a really stale 10-year-old thing that says you can expect your electricity bill to be this amount, but the rates have risen 30, 40, 50% since then, that's not going to be a really great indicator. Because the rates are rising so fast. So we could reduce the number of years that a Home Energy Score is good for to help counteract that. And yes.
Could you, if this passes an ordinance, also just very clearly show your math so someone could do their own math?
Yes, we can expand the report I believe, to be able to show it's this many kilowatt hours at this assumed rate. And then they could always go back to the person who did the assessment and reach out to them and ask for more information as well. But we could break it down in that way. I think that's smart. And how would we enforce this? What's the mechanism? We would need to pass an ordinance requiring home energy score at time of listing before we can carry out any enforcement. There needs to be a rule before we hold people to account for the rule. And then I had the earlier slides about enforcement options. In terms of subsidy, the subsidy that we have in the budget currently, and that is meant to be associated with this ordinance, is intended to cover the full cost of home energy score for folks who qualify. My intention, my ideal situation would be to work with a third party to contract out the assessment so there's no out-of-pocket costs. And when the resident is sending in their personal information that might have bank information, income information to verify that they qualify for the subsidy, that wouldn't be available for public records. So this protects their privacy, also makes it so there's no out-of-pocket cost if we do this through a third-party provider. Olympia's past home energy score ordinances refer to the subsidy for 80% or 80% or less than 80% of the area median income as defined by federal HUD. Thurston County does the 80%, but also includes any household that's been deemed eligible to participate in a low-income assistance program offered by the county or another governmental entity. So if you're on SNAP, if you're on Medicare, Medicaid, you can show that, and that can be the thing that, or Lifeline, for instance, our Lifeline program. If they're registered for it, they can automatically get the subsidy through that process. We can follow either jurisdiction's leads or name our own thresholds so long as they're not a gift of public funds. For instance, the Energize Thurston program, we fully subsidized for folks that were under 80% area median income, and then had a cost share for those that were between 80 and 120% area median income. So we can create tiered programs if we want, and I have some slides coming here shortly about cost-burdened households in Tumwater. The Oregon Home Energy Score programs generally see 1% of home listings utilizing their subsidy program. In Tumwater, that would be about 3 homes subsidized per year, because between spring 24 and spring 25, we had 288 active listings in Tumwater. Thank you, Thurston County Realtors Association, for those extra wonderful numbers. 25. Okay, 25, 26. My apologies. Thank you. Currently, we have $4,000 per year budgeted for the subsidy, which would cover 16 households full cost, which is greatly more than the 1% that we're seeing in terms of uptake in Oregon. However, this is some fun math. Yes.
Question on the last slide. Oregon HES generally sees 1% of home listing utilize the subsidy. Is there a tiered model, or is that a 80% AMI in Oregon?
Some are 80, some are 60% AMI. Obviously, if we raise the income level that is qualifies for it, then we would likely have a greater increase in the number, which I'm starting to get to here. There are 6,830 owner-occupied households in Tumwater. 22 to 28% of those households are cost-burdened based on similar Washington-sized cities. So cost-burdens being that more than 30% of your income is going to your housing expenses, which include utilities. There's a reasonable estimate that based on that there's between 1,500 and 1,900 cost-burdened households in Tumwater. Given the 288 home listings last year, 25, 26, spring to spring, and roughly 22 to 28% of those, that would be between 60 and 80 sales a year. If we're estimating the average amount for the cost in terms of the highest to the lowest, $250 per subsidy, that would be that we would need to set aside $20,000 per year to subsidize all of the estimated cost burden homeowners seeking to sell their homes based on these estimates. That might not be how many people actually applied, but if we wanted to make sure that we had enough for everybody who is considered cost burden, which we would need to figure out exactly how we determine area median income, all the different qualifications for that, that is an option, and that's how much I estimate that it would cost per year. And that's if everybody was getting the full subsidy. If we did tiered system, then it would obviously be less than that. But there are options, and I think useful thing about the ordinance is that we can be vague in our language of who gets the subsidy and determine that on an administrative way, and do that also based on whatever budget allocations we have available as well, to keep it flexible, but with the intent of taking care of all the people in our community who need it. Any questions on this? I'm on slide 18 to 23. Impact on price of housing, just noting again that utility costs are the second highest housing costs. PSC has proposed a 3-year rate case to the UTC that could increase residential electric rates by 30% and natural gas rates by 20% over the next 3 years. So energy costs are rising. So having an energy efficient home or knowing what you can do to improve it is a helpful thing to help try to keep the cost low. And I'll get to some financing option here in a moment. Cost of housing and living is rising in all areas. It's hard for everybody. This program could help people make informed decisions about what they can truly afford when considering all of the costs of homeownership. And with or without a home energy score requirement, homes that have improvements of any kind appreciate in value. It could be that they put new tile backsplash that makes their home more expensive, or something like insulation that can help the greater good of the community. So the cost of housing generally goes up regardless. So making that a little bit less of a red herring if we can. Access to mortgage products. Energy Spark Home Loan, not a lot of people know that this exists. It's through the Washington State Housing Finance Corporation. You need a home energy score or something similar to it, and a list of recommended upgrades, and then you can get a 0.25 discounted rate on your mortgage, and you can also roll in the cost for those upgrades if you want. You could add the cheapest upgrades that get you to the minimum percent, which could be insulation, could be basic weatherization, could be something expensive if that's what you choose to do, but there are many options and they show the cost-effective ones on the home energy score report.
So if you know, the home energy score comes back and you realize that perhaps this would be the time to do like a heat pump. And so you could wrap that into your loan.
Yes, and you can use this for refinancing also. If you do this outside of a process of selling a home and you get a home energy score, I mean, by all means, we can get them whenever we want. If there's a workforce that is driven to actually be able to provide those here, you could do this at any time and you can use this particular mortgage product.
So if you did, and then I was just thinking, because at the time of purchase, it's, to be able to finance it over 30 years rather than trying to do it, because we looked at trying to replace, we know how much it costs to do a heat pump, and a lot if you try to pay it over how many years or 6 months or so. Yeah.
And they're all
pricey, but if you do it when you buy, make your improvements when you buy. Okay, that's just
and
plug.
There are some credit unions that have specifically like solar grants and energy efficiency loan products too that might be at a more competitive rate than a whole mortgage. If it's not during a sale, that are options too, but debt is not fun for anybody. Recognize that. Yes, if you, thank you. If your household income has to be under a certain amount to be able to qualify for this. $250,000 for your household. There are 2 other programs, one through Fannie Mae and one through Freddie Mac, that also you can roll in your energy efficiency improvements if you have something like a home energy score. However, those are like held in escrow and you have to pay them out first and then you get reimbursed back, and they don't have a discounted rate for your overall rate for your mortgage, but there aren't income caps on that. So that's another option to help finance the improvements if you choose to make them. Again, what we're proposing is not requiring people to make these improvements, but to have the information to make better decisions.
I did an energy efficiency loan to do my solar panels and then bundled a new roof and the tree trimming, but actually be able to get the light. So I was able to bundle all 3 for a low interest rate. So they're out there.
If and when the city considers or does adopt a home energy score ordinance, Thurston County and Olympia had between 365 days and an arbitrary date in spring in terms of the effective date after passing, so that there's enough time to develop a program and all the administrative procedures to make sure that this runs smoothly. During that time, if we were to adopt something, the Thurston Climate Mitigation Collaborative, we're already working on this. This would just be more beneficial to the city in terms of what we could use. Work on developing administrative forms, workflows, and procedures in terms of Northwest MLS integration, code enforcement processes, subsidy applications and processes, who would review it, contracts if we do it with a third party, for instance, exemptions, assessor verification and registration to make sure that the people doing business in the city doing home energy score assessments are also licensed to do business in the city of Tumwater. We would contract with the national service provider to do quality assurance, quality control, and reporting to the U.S. Department of Energy, which is a requirement. We would do stakeholder engagement for program development with Olympia Master Builders, PSC, Thurston County Realtors Association, an open house for the community, and any other outreach that the council would want us to do. We would do education, outreach, and public communication, training, workforce development and training, and develop a monitoring plan to monitor the success of the program over time. So now my favorite slide, options. It would be really helpful for me in terms of managing my workload if I knew if this was moving forward and in which way. So I have 4 options for you here. 2 of them have a bonus option, but I would like you to consider and provide guidance if you can to either bring forward the regional model ordinance for City Council review for consideration for adoption, bring forward a revised version of the regional model ordinance for City Council review for adoption, develop a voluntary program, or take no action and cease conversations on this topic. If you do want to move forward with something that does, it could be 1, 2, or 3. We would also like to add state advocacy for home energy score disclosure to the city's legislative agenda. But the main things that I would like clarity on from you all is door 1, door 2, door 3, door 4, so I can continue work on this or work on something else.
Let's just start with Angela way around the room. Angela.
Yes, for a revised version, of the regional model ordinance, what would that look like? What's revised?
If you wanted to sprinkle some special Tumwater magic in there, if you wanted to make changes to the income qualifications or keep it vague for the subsidy, if you wanted to incorporate the Thurston County Realtors Association's forthcoming definition of public real estate listing, things of that nature. Or if there are other things that you want to see incorporated into the program, we could start to craft it from there, working from the base of the regional model.
Right. I would prefer that because it's almost like we're looking at the lessons learned from those 2 jurisdictions that had passed it. So that would be my choice. Course of action 2.
Megan.
I have questions related to number 2 also. You mentioned could determine subsidy based on administrative rather than codified in the municipal code. And I flagged that as what does that mean and what does that look like? So I guess that says that I am also leaning to number 2 because I want to understand better what tiered could look like and how, if there was an administrative level as opposed to codified in code, how that would be structured, communicated to the public, and then, of course, followed and fairly and equitably utilized. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I think that this is an idea right now for me, so it could not be the best idea. But if we have something vague in the code, but then perhaps with each biennium budget, we pass, you all are proposed a resolution that defines those rules, that makes it administrative, but also then verified by you all, that would make it so that if you didn't want staff to determine that and you wanted to still have control over that, but go through an easier process each year for reassessing through a resolution associated with the budget, that could be a way to firm those up and add more accountability. And also more visibility to the public in terms of what those subsidies would be each year. And I think it makes sense to do that associated with the biennium budget because whatever funding allows, we would then be able to look at the market trends for the area, how much funding we can allocate for this. Maybe there's grants sometime that can boost things and we can make it more magical. But that's a way, or doing it administratively or writing it in code. All of them are options.
The more you write in code, the more you got to go back and change it.
And changing code takes a lot of time, but resolutions take less, but still formalize it as a temporary statement of the city council.
I think I would be more in favor of 2, but I do have a question. When you're meeting with the Realtors Association, was there any, might be a ridiculous question, but I'm just thinking, I don't know how long houses are sitting on the market right now in Tumwater. So if Olympia, the county, and Tumwater all were to pass this, and Lacey were to be the only jurisdiction that did not pass that, is there a concern that we will have houses? I know that in the big scheme of things, this isn't the hugest do or die, but was there any kind of discussion about houses sitting on the market in Tumwater because in Olympia and in the county and Lacey having kind of like a hot market?
I don't recall there being a conversation about if one jurisdiction does it and the others, but more of a concern of what if if there's contingency sales and we can't get a home energy score assessor within that 5 days to be able to turn around a report, that's a concern. If there aren't enough assessors to be able to do it quickly, that was a concern. But then later in the meeting, they expressed that they weren't worried about that because most of the building inspectors associated with the Realtors Association are looking at this as something, as service that they can add. And was that accurate?
One other thing I heard on.
No, sorry, the current home inspectors are seeing this as an additional service that they would be trained for, that they would end up and offer to homeowners.
And there is something, I believe it's in Bend, Oregon's ordinance, but isn't in our draft right now, that there's some director waivability of like, if a home energy score isn't possible to get within a reasonable amount of time, that it can be waived for that too. In the case that we can't turn it around in time for a sale on contingency, that could be something that's expressed and then kind of trying to solve that problem and not create another problem. As another option that we could put into a Tumwater specific ordinance.
I'm
Kelly, hearing that.
I think two is where I lean.
Brandon.
I think I too am leaning towards number 2. It's also, when you go to purchase a home, you're the one, when you're buying it, it's typically that you're asking for the inspection. Right?
For the home inspection?
Yeah. Seller doesn't normally provide a home inspection, so are we going to put all of this on the seller? Or is there some instances where, too, it's like the buyer should, if we get enough compliance or knowledge out there and go, hey, this is available, is that going to get us to where we would like to be going forward, too?
It would make it harder for people to access the mortgage products and would require someone to have like made an offer on a home before they go through the energy efficiency audit, which means that they could be, if they can't actually afford the energy bill of that, they might be wasting a lot of people's time and also losing time in terms of being able to secure financing. But it's all a personal preference at this point.
Right.
That could go either way. And it being on the buyer is the Thurston County Realtors Association's suggested alternative. When we were going through the focus groups, for instance, Pamela, who is my counterpart at City of Olympia, she was going through the process of buying her first home. I was also going through the process of buying my first home at this time when we were starting working on this in 2023. She wanted to get a home energy score assessment for her home, but at the time, because there wasn't a cause for demand here, she wasn't able to get someone from Portland, from Vancouver, to come up here and do the home energy score assessment fast enough for her to be able to qualify for those things because the sales were moving so fast. If we don't have a demand, then we won't have people bothering to get that certification and keep up the certification, because if they don't provide, if each certified assessor doesn't provide a score to a home every 6 months, they have to start all over. So they have to have enough to make it worth it for them to keep that going.
What was the traditional, new home being built today here in Tumwater, what's their score?
Here.
Right, but do we have a limit of the minimum that we'll allow them to build it to or anything?
So depends on what they decide to choose in terms of how they get the points in the energy code. They could do the things that are cheaper, or they could do the things that are most efficient, and those would provide different scores. The size of the home makes a difference to the score also. So if it's a very energy efficient but giant home, it may have a lower score. There's more than 60 factors that go into what makes the score from the 1 to 10. But generally our energy code, if the home was built today and not vested under older energy code, which is why we don't have if it was built after 2010, then it doesn't have to do this, because we have lots of homes that were built after 2010 that were vested many energy codes past, and not built to the efficient standards that we have today.
Well, and I guess that would be my concern too, is that, coming in, if you're looking for a new home, you're like, you just assume, oh, it's going to be built to green standards and everything. And it's like, that's not always the truth. So I think that educating buyers too about the whole entire process and going, okay, well, these might be underneath a different code than these ones actually are. Sorry, Lance.
That's what I needed. That's what I needed.
Destroy that. So yeah, I think I'm leaning towards number 2.
Thank you. Eileen.
And I agree. Number two, we haven't had a chance to see the ordinance yet, so how will this, I mean, I know it is out there, so.
It's currently in routing, for the city attorney's review.
Okay.
It went through Brad, it's at Karen now. And once she has gone through it and deemed it appropriate to put, on a packet, we will hopefully bring it for you as a packet to have that initial conversation.
Some of those ideas will be able, what we're talking about tonight, we
Yes.
should be able to, take our ideas and try to
Yes.
put that into play.
So what
Do
if,
you want it at general government first?
That would probably be a good idea.
Yeah.
That was Paul's suggestion.
makes sense, ordinances normally do that, unless it's sewer or something.
Not on general government.
Kelly,
I'm sorry. No, I was just. Sorry.
no, it's like Kelly Angela.
I don't apologize, I haven't said anything wrong.
Sorry, I know.
But you need a job. Oh, you're on general government, page, right? Who's on general government?
Yes.
I don't know.
Table that. Anyhow,
That's all I know.
Melissa, is that the direction that you need?
John.
I-
Yes,
So
let's
far,
take it to general government.
one-
That makes sense.
I
You're
think we
correct.
did that before we.
Let's reset.
Yes.
Okay. And we're gonna go to Peter, then Joan, regarding their option, preference, to give Melissa direction. I know how to facilitate a meeting, everyone. Peter,
So I work in enforcement. If you have an ordinance, then you suppose that there would be mechanism to enforce non-compliance. And because we are saying you have to have a score, so where do we begin to score? So do we say for homes that were built 20, 30 years ago, they're grandfathered, have a grandfather clause? And do we say homes that were built 5 years ago, they must have those? So essentially, what I'm trying to say is there has to be an enforcement mechanism for you to have an ordinance that is equitable to all concerned. So I don't know if that is what we have here.
all right, so Peter, if you had to choose between 1, 2, 3, 4, have not decided yet?
Well, I would choose 2, but I would want us 2 to be supported by.
More clarification on enforcement.
Yes,
Perfect.
yes.
That's great. Thank you, Peter, that's perfect. Joan, where are you at?
2. Number,
Right, so we each, right, you all have some thoughts. Alyssa has it all tracked. We'll go
Well,
back to general government.
I don't know what are you feeling is the value to have it come to general government first? I don't,
Just a council committee process, so gives the chance for the specific committee to dig in on it and vet it a little bit further, have a little more in-depth discussion before it comes back to full council for review. Just like all of our other policies and ordinances that float through the council committee process.
yeah, but usually we don't have this kind of time and depth of a conversation about something before it comes to general government. If we want to keep moving on this, I think we're adding, in my opinion, a step we don't need. It seems like people, council members now kind of know where they are on this and how they want to.
We will take that under consideration and look at the timing of everything. That is perfect, Joan, thank you. Alyssa will work backwards and we'll give an update.
Okay.
Ask for one bit of clarification, just to make sure that when I bring this language, that it includes all the Tumwater magic that you want me to sprinkle into it, and that includes some further conversation or language on a tiered subsidy program, director's ability to waive if a home energy assessor is not available within a certain amount of time, and more clarification on enforcement. Was there anything else that you would like me to weave in?
I think those are the most substantive ones. I mean, that would be a thought of why it would go to general government, is to give that one more touch point, but not have it if it delays anything, right? So I know what Joan's saying. Like, if we can work it out to have another touch point, awesome. So we have, right? If not, then let's not delay. So Joan's point is well taken.
What Peter said about a checkpoint and something that's fair and equitable, could he or someone repeat that? What that was? That sounded like something that may or may not be in the conversation.
I think Peter was talking about, are we gonna like grandfather in, right? If there's 30 years ago, 5 years ago, so what does that look like for the age of the home, right? I think that's what Peter was getting at, is like, what does that look like? Who's included, who's not included? How are you gonna enforce it? What's applicable, what's not applicable? A little more detail with that.
Oh.
Because we know like manufactured homes are included right now, multifamily stacked homes aren't included, but what does it look like for the age of the homes as well? So.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a good question, Peter, and thank you, Joan.
With the intention being to, like, not require it for older homes that might be more inefficient, or to require it for all homes so anyone can make sure that they're comparing all homes' efficiency. My perspective on it is that the most equitable way to do this, if it's triggered at time of listing, is for all homes that the model can be applied to, for it to be required.
Equally or equitable? Equal. Yeah, so that's not equitable because I have an older home, so I would not do well, right? Assuming I haven't made any upgrades, right? So I think of some of our seniors that are using Rebuilding Together Thurston County that cannot do the home repairs.
I could also see it too, like, you know, as a buyer, that if you're buying an old home, it's pretty low. So I can see arguments for all ways of looking at that too. I just don't know where we would wind on a cutoff date. Hey, homes built before 2000, homes built before 1990, homes built before 2010. I don't know.
Right, because that's not even a good measure because of when they were vested or not vested.
Right.
And some people have done updates on their homes throughout the life of their home.
But that person then would want to add that score, right? Because it's like, oh wait, I do have a older home, but I want to add in this score so that you understand that I.
Is the beneficiary here people who would be investing in a home or people who would be selling a home? Because if it's selling a home, then it makes sense to cut it off. But if it's in terms of anyone who could be buying a home, to first-time home buyers, for instance, then it does not make sense to have a cutoff date for that to be equal information for all of their options. And we've also seen from the research that a more inefficient home, a lower scoring home, does not make the home sell for less.
How does this fit?
Create more efficient homes, and so if the goal is to create more energy efficient homes, we wouldn't.
And we don't count the ones that are considered inefficient.
Want to cut out some of the older ones that are.
Yeah,
Trying to educate.
I'm just wondering, and maybe it has nothing to do with anything, but how does this impact people who own rentals, and how would this affect renters?
If they are selling a property that they then will be renting, there are many different national service providers. If we go with the one that most of the jurisdictions in Portland use, and there's something called the Green Building Registry, where the tenants of that future property could look up the address and find the home energy score. We are not requiring it at time of rental right now or time of lease because, to be frank, I have no idea how to start to enforce that because there are so many different websites that rentals are listed that the logistics of it baffle me, and I hope that in coming years I can figure it out, but at this point I have no idea. So it's a logistical issue, but if someone is renting a duplex or one of the subject buildings that this would apply to, they would be able to look back and see before they sign a lease, because it had been sold or listed for sale, they could look at the score report and have some information. There are really big cities like Minneapolis have time of application requirements for energy efficiency. And I hope to learn from them, but they're also significantly more resourced jurisdictions that may be able to achieve more than I can by myself.
Elizabeth, do you feel like you've gotten direction from council?
I just think that this will raise rents for the people who do this or who have to do this to sell their rental or whatever. So anyway, that's just a thought when we're thinking about housing.
Thank you, Joan. Alyssa's writing that down. And then Alyssa's gonna work backwards, the timing of her judging the ordinance, and then timing of if there's time to go to general government to see all that, do a temperature check, or bring it to council for consideration. So more to come. Eileen, you had your hand up.
And the only thing too is just that, by establishing this industry, it's open to anybody, not just at the point of sale. So if someone wants to have this type of level of information that they want in their home, that we can just do this as a consumer and be able to have that information. I just want to lay it out there. It's not a punitive thing.
Is this really a friendly competition that you're doing right now with council? Are you asking council to do this?
I'm just, I'm the one that had my
Are you
house
just serious?
inspected beforehand because I don't like surprises. But I would be cool to be able to know ahead of time. We've talked about that. So.
It looks like we wrote that down that Eileen Swift would be like the first on council to do a home energy store.
I'm interested in knowing about.
I want to know what I can do.
Like they're up in my house.
Okay, anything else for Alyssa? Well done, Alyssa.
Good job.
Thank you all for your feedback and direction.
We are on to item number 6, Mayor City Administrator's Report, and I am done. So that's my report. Oh, what do you got?
You are done? I am done.
Heck yeah! Meeting adjourned. Thank you.